Man, I wonder if this could be more difficult to make.
Oh my gosh. What on earth is this? It can't be. It's all of the ingredients to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich completely from scratch. I began by washing my hands. Begin with the bread. The first step is to take our milk and water, which we have combined in a bowl, and warm it up to around 90 degrees, or just warmer than room temperature. To this, we will add 1 packet of instant dry yeast. Then stir in the yeast and cover with plastic wrap. We'll set that aside for around 10 minutes, and in the meantime, we will get our dry ingredients ready. So we start with flour. This is bread flour, a little bit of sugar, and a little bit of salt. Alrighty, so we've let the yeast mixture sit for around 10 minutes. The yeast is dissolved, and we have all of this mixed. So now we'll slowly start mixing in the yeast mixture. Alright, now that there is a dough formed, we're going to start mixing in our softened butter 1 tablespoon at a time. 2 tablespoons, and finally 3 tablespoons. Alrighty, now that our dough is formed, we're going to cover this bowl with plastic wrap and let it sit for 10 minutes. Alright, now that we've let our dough sit for 10 minutes, we're going to take the plastic wrap off and pull it out onto an unfloured surface. We're gonna gently shape it into a ball. Like so. And then we're going to put it into a large greased bowl. Cover it with plastic wrap. And then let this sit at room temperature for an hour to an hour and a half, or until doubled in size. So while our dough is rising, we are going to make the peanut butter for our sandwich. So I'm just using the whole bag of raw peanuts. It doesn't really matter how many you use, just enough so that your food processors can get them all. So we're gonna put them on a baking sheet and then spread them out. And then we will bake these in a 350-degree oven for 10 minutes until they are lightly toasted. Alrighty, now that our peanuts are lightly toasted and fragrant, we're going to let them cool back down to room temperature. So now that our peanuts are room temperature, to get the skins off of the outside of them, like that skin, we're gonna put them in a towel and then shake them. So I have all of the peanuts in the towel, and now we're going to shake them very aggressively. Alright, now that I've shaken these, and the skin should be off of the peanuts, we can start taking them and putting them into the food processor, which is the appliance that I'm using. Alright, now that I have all of these in here, I'm going to process them for around 15 minutes or until they're the desired consistency. And while that's happening, I will put a little bit of extra salt in there. Alright, so we've let this process for around 10 or 15 minutes now, and it's a good peanut butter consistency, so we will store this in a large mason jar until we are ready to put it on our sandwich. Alright, so we've let our bread dough rise for about an hour to an hour and a half. So now we're going to punch it down to get all the gas back out of it. And then take it out onto a lightly floured surface. So now we are going to roll it out into a rectangle to put it into our bread pan. And then we're going to put this into our greased bread loaf pan. And then we will set this aside to rise for another hour to an hour and a half. Alrighty, while our bread is rising again, we're going to make our strawberry jam for the sandwich. So we're going to start by cutting up our strawberries. I have 2 pounds of pretty large strawberries, and we need to cut them into bite-sized pieces. So when I'm holding my knife, I'm pinching it, and then wrapping my fingers around, and then having my fingers curled away from where I'm cutting. So I'm just cutting off the tops, and then cutting them into quarters, like so. Alrighty, so I've quartered all of my strawberries, and now I'm gonna add in 2.5 cups of granulated sugar. Alright, now that the strawberries are completely coated with the sugar, we're gonna let this sit for 20 minutes to let it macerate. What that means is that the sugar is drawing the moisture out of the strawberries, which makes them more ready to boil and reduce. Alright, so as this starts heating up and reducing, we're going to keep stirring it until it's at a light syrupy texture, and then we will test if it's done or not. Alright, so now our jam is reduced and at the right texture, so we are going to make an ice bath and then cool this down over it. Alrighty, the jam is now all cooled off, so we will also put it in a mason jar. Alright, so our bread loaf has been resting for around an hour to an hour and 15 minutes. The yeast I used wasn't great, so this is about as big as it's going to get, but we're going to put it into a 350 degree oven for 40 to 50 minutes. Our bread is now out of the oven. I can tell that it's done just because of this nice golden crust on top, so we'll let it cool in the loaf pan for around 5 minutes, and then transfer it to the wire rack to cool the rest of the way.